Hey, so welcome back to the channel. Right, so this video is purely as a sort of 100 subscriber thank you note. Look, before we can get into that, I know that there's going to be people out there that are like, really judgmental about the number and all this, but to me, that is amazing. And I genuinely mean it. It's absolutely incredible. When I first started doing this, and I'm going to go into why I started doing YouTube. Doing YouTube. It's a hobby. It's for fun. It's not my job, and I'll tell you what my job is. It is a hobby, and it's just a bit of fun for me, and it's something that again gives me a bit of a creative outlet, and I'll go into why that as well. But to hit 100 is insane, and I'm sort of really taken back and gobsmacked by it. But that's only happened because you've subscribed. It's not to do with me, it's to you, and so this is without question a thank you for that. Again, well, I won't harp on thank you. I've said it, thank you, and I hope you stay with me as I keep coming out with new content and trying to grow the channel, which again I'm doing, and I'm trying to cover different things and play with different ideas and what have you, and I appreciate some things are going to be more popular than others, and I sort of think, well, go with what I enjoy doing as well. I enjoy exploring the lore. I enjoy the cosplay part, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But yeah, it's I really find it a good release, and I want to sort of talk to why I got in, or I've started doing that. So yeah, with that said, let me just talk about the cosplay element first. So with respect to the Vader suit, I know I've mentioned this before, but when I first bought the Vader suit, I got the rubies one, and I'm going to put up on screen what I thought I was getting out of the box. I was 18 when I bought it, and it was for a Halloween party. Look, I don't know where I would fall in terms of a Star Wars fan. Like, I'm not, I guess, you kind of super diehard who knows every little detail. But by the same token, I'm someone who knows, I guess, a lot more than the average person who's not really interested in it. Certainly more than that person anyway. And obviously Vader as a character, again, I've got to into the character a lot more, just because, again, it's something that I've obviously built a costume around, which I've really enjoyed. But this is what I thought I was getting out of the box, and it is far, far, far from that. They still sell the Ruby's costume, and I just remember getting it, and I was bitterly disappointed. The helmet looks nothing like what is shown here. The costume itself, it just looks nothing like it. And I remember just sort of thinking, oh God, like, this sucks. Now, don't get me wrong, the Ruby's costume still is good for, in all intents and purposes. If you're not that bothered and you just for a bit of fancy dress or whatever, it will do the job more than enough. But for someone like me who would sort of really getting into the detail, it just doesn't cut it. There are parts of it that do, but you need to modify those parts. You need to take them and kind of redress them and change them out and all types of stuff. And I can do a much deeper dive into all of that. I've kind of covered it earlier in my first sort of videos that I ever did. But again, I was totally new to it. I didn't know what I would do in terms of any recording. I'm still a noob now, but I was super noob then. But anyway, I bought this costume, I was 18, and then I went to this Halloween party, and then, to be fair, it kind of just sat in a cupboard and didn't really do anything. I remember sort of buying the Master Replica's helmet because I'd seen Revenge of the Sith, and then I'd seen this helmet, and I was like, oh. And it was expensive at the time that I bought it. I think I paid about £700 for it. and it was shipped from America. And there's not that many of these in the world. I think they'd made something like 500 or maybe 700. I don't know the exact number. Mine says it's one of 500, but again, there might be other slight modifications and additions that they did. But anyway, so I bought that, and it is a massive improvement, because one of the parts that really sucks on the Rubies is the helmet. The helmet is just terrible. It is so bad. You have to see it in person to understand, but the lenses are terrible, the shape of it's terrible, the dome's terrible, the neck's all warped, like it's just bad, right? And for anyone out there who's got a Rubies, the first thing that you should change is the helmet. By just get rid of it. And I know people hit on the Black Series and say, oh, it's not accurate, this and that and the other, and it's not, because it is. There are parts of it that are off, but it is such a massive improvement over the standard Rubies one. I can't even tell you, and so I would just change that out. That makes a big difference. But yeah, so it was sat there, and then I'd gone to, well, so basically my sister, her son were having a birthday party, and she'd asked me to show up at a party as Darth Vader for my nephew, who were like 6 at the time. To this day, I still don't think he knows it were me, but maybe he does now, I don't know. But anyway, it was a birthday party, and I'm hopefully going to be able to put this up. So as I'm talking now, and I don't know if I can put this footage on, but if I can, then it's going to be playing as I'm talking. If it's not, then I'm just going to put some screenshots up, and you'll see the screenshots. I'm hoping I can get you some footage as well. But anyway, so I've gone to this, and it was really cool. I enjoyed it, and it was great to see my nephew so happy and everything else, and what have you. So yeah, there we go. And then again, put it away, kind of don't really bother, because Vader's quite a difficult costume to wear. I'm going to talk about that as well, but it's quite a difficult costume to wear. And so unless you've got sort of a big event that you're doing or what have you, it's really, I don't know, like I've had Halloween parties at my house, and I'm not doing Vader, because it's just hard work. So yeah, there we go. But why did I kind of get into really upgrading the thing? And that's why I'm going to go next. Why I sort of started building this. Now, you'll notice I'm not green screening in this video. And there's a reason for that. It's not that, it's because I'm going to lay something a little bit bare here about myself, and so I thought, you know what, just be you, Andrew. Just be you on this one. And so yeah, here we go. But I can't say the name of it. And from what I gather, if I say the name of this, then it completely crushes your video. So I'll just say the virus, a hit, and we were on lockdown, and I was really just bored. Again, what I do for a living, my industry was just dead in the water. It was gone. There was no work. If anything, it was going the other way. And so there's no work. You can't go out. It was just, it was a hard time for everybody. It really was. It sucked. And I sort of got myself into a bit of a zone where I was trying to find ways to entertain myself, and I've always been into gaming, but the biggest thing that I got into was GTA, right? And I built an empire on GTA. And when I say I built an empire, I'm talking about, like, I had people from all over the world that became part of a crew, and we were a grinding crew. So we I'm not into bullying people online and all that type of crap. I'm not into that. So yeah, we were, helping other people out and making lots of money on GTA money, which were great. You know what, it got me through, but there's only so much you can do in a day before you kind of like, yeah, it's the same old. And I needed to sort of find something else to sort of occupy my time with. And I just started thinking, you know what, I'm going to upgrade this Vader suit. Why not? And so as you just start looking into things, you start, okay, well, I'm going to change this, and I'm going to change this, and I'm going to change this. And before you know it, the ruby suit that I had was kind of like, wow, this thing really sucks. And I'm replacing and changing and modifying everything. And it sort of became a bit of well, like a hobby, really, sort of modifying the thing. But there's only so much that you can do with that. And that kind of brings me on to something else that I'm going to talk about, and then why I've gone into sort of doing YouTube. So yeah, let's go on to that. So as I say, we're in lockdown, GTA, this and the other, and I'm not going to say I'm ashamed to admit it, but it is what it is. I started drinking more and more. I've always been somebody that with alcohol, I kind of kept going until I fell over, so to speak, until it knocked me out. I like to think that I'm kind of a sort of a lovable drunk, but the reality is that I'm not. I'm not a massive guy, but I'm not a small guy. And if I've sat throwing my weight around, I could be quite an unpleasant person to be around if I'm in that zone. And I wouldn't like to see me as that or be around me as that if I were another person. But it got to where, I were starting to fill my time with that, which is a terrible thing to do, and something that was look, I wasn't like alcoholic where I was like every day, but like I would drink 4 out of 3 days, or and again quite heavy. And when I did, it was quite a lot. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, well, I'll have a beer a day type thing. Like I'm talking like I could knock back a bottle of Jack Daniels and stuff like that. So it wasn't good. But I never saw myself as like, I'm an alcoholic, I've got a problem, I'm just okay, I'm drinking way too much, right? But then the lockdown stopped and kind of things were getting back to normal, and that was great because like finally. And so I'm someone who likes to apply myself to things. I like to, I do. If I feel I ain't got things to be doing with my time, then I sort of look for ways to, I guess, fill my time in another way. And I did it in a negative way. And so we're back to normal, and that's great and all. And I'm not making this up when I say this, but literally, sort of like a few weeks after the whole lockdown scenario, I'd gone out on my mountain bike, and some lads attacked me and I got stabbed. Now, it wasn't life-threatening. I'm here. And it wasn't anything where I got any vital organs. In fact, if anything, it were flesh wounds. But I've got the scars to prove it. I did get stabbed. And for someone who, I've come out of, I'm going to edit that little word there. It's come out of the lockdown, to be then, all right, you're free again, and then all of a sudden that happened, and I couldn't go to the gym, I couldn't train. It really sort of, and look, it didn't make me sort of scared to go out and stuff, but what it did do is sort of put me in a zone where I was like, okay, I'm recovering, and I've got to sort of move around a little bit more slowly and everything else, and just to, I guess, sort of again quash the pain and things like that. Guess where I went? Back to it. And once that kind of gets you, it sort of becomes a way of life almost. The way I can describe it, it's like a whirlpool, and you're in the outside of the whirlpool. So for you, you're like, oh, it's not too bad here. It's all right. I'm far away from the danger zone. But you're slowly moving in. And as you're moving in, it gets quicker and quicker and quicker. And before you know it, you can be in a real bad place. And, it hurts me to say this, but I've lost family members because of alcohol, where they have been full on and they've not made it. And that's awful. And I'm sort of like, wow, I was doing the same thing, but not realizing it. Or maybe I was realizing it, but I didn't care. And so the reason why I wanted to start doing stuff on YouTube was to have a bit of a creative outlet, and to I guess try and bring something else to the world. A lot, you know, I might sound soppy. I don't care. I don't care if it does. I wanted to bring something else, and you know, I like the Star Wars universe. It's, and obviously it's not real. It'd be amazing if it was, but you know, look, it's a fantasy world, but it's a fantasy world that's based around, I guess, things like, you know, exploration and space and various other bits, and you know, there's just cool tropes in there, and I like it, and I'm assuming you do as well, because you're here watching someone who's creating content around Star Wars. But I just needed to kind of find a way to fill my time and get away from thinking I've got no else to do, you know, because again, I'm not in that zone now. You know, when I say I got sort of stabbed, it was nearly 3 years ago now. But again, it's that sort of, it kind of lures you into a cycle where you've gone from one reason why you're boozing or drinking to another. And it will, again, through the week, totally not touching it, but the weekend, I would be absolutely on it. And really starting to feel the effects of it, feeling tired, feeling lethargic, not feeling motivated to do anything, not really wanting to sort of challenge myself. And so I was like, well, one, I really wanted to learn how to video edit. I see, you know, people put videos up, and it's just like, how did he do that? So I really wanted to learn that. And then I thought, you know, just give it a go. Why not? People will either like you or they won't. And if they don't like you, that's their choice. Fair enough. And if they do, great. You know, fantastic. And for me, again, I create stuff where I go, I want, obviously I want people to like it. Of course I do. You don't create content so it not be liked, but I sort of think I create stuff that I would watch, or, you know, I would watch that. That's how I look at it. You know, oh, I find that interesting. That's how I look at it. And to be fair, it has really helped, because, as I say, it's given me focus, and given me a reason to go, you know, not be sort of tempted to get on the booze, because it's very, very easy to do. And again, I'm talking about my own personal experience, but once you have one sip, I want another, and then another, and another, and before you know it, I'm KO'd, and then I wake up, and the next day I rinse and repeat, and just not a good way to move forward in life. And so this has really helped me, and I'm going to say it as it is, you have really helped me. You know, you're here watching this, that helps me massively. And I just, well, again, I put content out there because, you know, again, I wanted to bring something else, you know, put something out in the world, so to speak. I've mentioned like what I do for a job. So I work in recruitment, and I do sort of senior roles. So I'm dealing with quite taxing people. Don't get me wrong, I have some very interesting conversations with folk across the world. But yeah, you know, it can be quite taxing. It's a weird job. It's not physically draining. It's certainly, in my opinion, not mentally draining, but it's very emotionally draining, which is weird to say, but it is. The way I describe it, it's like Mortal Kombat 2, Shang Tsung, like where he sucks the soul out on the fatality. It's like that. And again, I think, you know, that coupled with being stabbed, and after the lockdown, and just hitting the booze, you know, put me in a place where I wasn't the best that I could be. And so, yeah, there we go. But yeah, this video was, as I said, I was going to do a 100 subscriber kind of special, and it was something that I didn't really want to sort of go into doing editing and various other stuff. I could just literally record myself and kind of lay my soul bare, so to speak, and give you a bit of insight who to, I guess I am, and why I started doing this. As for obviously the cosplay side of stuff and Vader, look, Vader's just such a cool character. I want to bring out a lot more content around Vader as a character. I want to bring a lot more content out me portraying Vader and trying to put him in scenarios. I know I've just yesterday released the Vader versus Boba Fett, and chances are if you're listening to this, you've already seen that. That for me was quite a difficult video to edit. And if I get enough people interested and want to know like what was involved in terms of creating that, then I'm more than happy to show. Yeah, you know, I sort of don't take it too seriously as well. I try to put sort of like a bit of a comedy in there with certain things. You know, I think sometimes certain things in the Star Wars universe or whatever can be very, very serious, and it's like, you know what, let's just take the edge off that a little bit. And I know I've tried to put that in with like this video stuff where I've put Vader attacking me, and I've done another one which you'll see in future videos where again I've just put a skit together like that. And again, if you're interested in seeing how I create that type of stuff, then you know I'm more than happy to put it together. But yeah, this is just me laying my my soul bare, so to speak, and it's gone on way longer than what I thought it would. So I'm thinking that maybe at this point I'm talking to myself, and if I'm not, and you're there and you're still listening, then I hope I bring something to you that you enjoy, and I just plan on continuing to do that. So yeah, and you know, look, comment wise, if you're interested in like me covering any aspects of, if you said, oh look, you know, I appreciate you've done a Vader, you know, can you do a deep dive on the Vader costume but do it in a different way? Of course I can, you know. I'm all about like knowing what the audience wants, and again, yeah, I'm more than happy to do you know, stuff like that. But at this point I'm kind of rabbiting, and so I just want to say again thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate, you know, again, what you subscribing. It's you that allow me to have motivation to do this. Well, yeah, thank you for your time, and well, I'll see you in next week's video.